The drama has just escalated in the automotive world because Matt Armstrong has driven his Bugatti Veyron for the first time, and it actually moved under its own power. And what's happening with Matt Armstrong's Bugatti Veyron rebuild and Mark McCann's broken Veyron might expose a system Bugatti can't defend anymore. Bugatti refused to support Matt's Veyron rebuild, insisting independent garages weren't capable of handling it. But here's what nobody expected. The car that Bugatti said couldn't be fixed without them just drove. And the thing that finally brought it back to life wasn't some exotic Bugatti-engineered miracle. It was a fuse. One single melted fuse. And that detail changes everything about how we should think about this car. Let's go back to where this story really starts, because you need to understand just how close this entire rebuild came to collapsing before that first drive ever happened. When Matt and the team first dug into the gearbox situation on this Veyron, they found damage that looked catastrophic. The gearbox pump, which is the heart of the entire transmission system on this car, had been running in a state of absolute electrical chaos. The wiring harness connected to it was melted. Not worn, not frayed, melted. And sitting right at the center of that electrical carnage was a fuse that had given up so completely it had basically fused itself into a new shape. The pump hadn't been receiving the correct signal for who knows how long. And on a car like the Bugatti Veyron, that's not a small problem. That's a ticking clock on an 800 horsepower W16 time bomb. But that's where things got stranger, because when they replaced that fuse and restored the circuit, something almost unbelievable happened. The gearbox came back to life. Not partially, not with warning lights and limping behavior. It came back, pressure restored, communication restored, like the car had been sitting there the entire time, just waiting for someone to give it the right signal. And you have to stop and sit with that for a second. This is $1 million hypercar. A car Bugatti says requires their dealership network, their proprietary tools, their factory-trained technicians. And the transmission, the single most complex and expensive component on the entire vehicle, had been killed by one melted fuse, which raised an even bigger question. If one fuse could take down the gearbox, what else on this car is held together by components this fragile? Because the deeper Matt went into this Veyron, the more the hypercar illusion started to crack. And the cracks weren't subtle. They were right there, stamped with brand names that had no business being inside a $2 million machine. Or at least, that's what Bugatti's marketing wants you to believe. Here's what they found. NGK spark plugs. The same NGK plugs you'd find in a Volkswagen Golf, a Honda Civic, cars you can buy for $20,000. Then supplier branded filters with part numbers that trace straight back to the Volkswagen Group parts catalog. Then pump assemblies with architecture so similar to hardware used across the Audi and VW platform that technicians who had spent years working on German cars immediately recognized the design language. And then the Holdex-related hardware. That component, used widely across Audi, Volkswagen, Volvo, sitting inside the Bugatti Veyron's drivetrain as if it had always belonged there. Because it had. Because Bugatti is a Volkswagen Group company, and somewhere in the engineering process, the decision was made to pull from the same supplier network that supplies the entire group, which would be completely fine and totally logical from a manufacturing standpoint, except for one thing: Bugatti charges you for exclusivity. Bugatti charges you for the idea that every component, every part, every fastener inside this car was engineered specifically for this machine by people who answer to no one but Bugatti. And that story gets a lot harder to tell when the mechanic rebuilding your car holds up a pump and says, "I've seen this on an Audi A3. But the real shock came next, because this wasn't just about parts suppliers. This was about what those shared parts meant for the repair argument Bugatti had been making all along. Bugatti's position has been consistent. Independent garages cannot work on these cars. The technology is too complex, the tolerance is too tight, the system's too proprietary. You must go to a Bugatti authorized service center where specially trained technicians use specially developed equipment to handle your specially built hypercar." That's the pitch. That's what justifies the six-figure service bills. That's what justifies the position that Matt Armstrong should not have been attempting this rebuild. But what happens to that argument when the components inside the car are standard Volkswagen Group hardware? What happens when the fuse that killed the gearbox is a fuse that costs less than a sandwich? What happens when the pump that drives the transmission bears a striking resemblance to hardware that independent mechanics across Europe service every single day? The argument falls apart, and Matt Armstrong's rebuild is the evidence. Now here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. The gearbox pump on a Bugatti Veyron isn't just a complicated part, it's a part with a known failure pattern. People inside the Veyron community, the small, obsessive group of owners and independent specialists who actually work on these cars, have known for years that these pumps have a lifespan. And that lifespan, depending on usage and maintenance history, can sometimes be measured in annual replacement cycles. Not every few years, not every major service, annually. On a car that costs more than most people's houses, there is a component that some owners and specialists replace on a yearly basis just to avoid getting stranded. And Bugatti's solution to this problem has largely been to keep that information inside their service network, keep the parts expensive, keep the labor at authorized centers, and keep the cost of ownership so astronomically high that most Veyron owners simply hand the car over and pay whatever invoice comes back without asking questions. Matt Armstrong asked questions, and that's where things got worse. Because while the gearbox drama was unfolding, the team was also dealing with misfires. Random, unpredictable misfires across the W16. Not consistent enough to chase down easily, not severe enough to prevent the car from running, but persistent enough to keep reminding everyone in that garage that this car was still sick. The electrical investigation that followed pulled up wiring issues, connection issues, corrosion in places that should have been protected, and the kind of general degradation you find in a car that spent years sitting in conditions it was never designed to handle. Every solution uncovered another layer. Every fix revealed another fault. And underneath all of it was a system so complex, so interconnected, that pulling on one thread had a way of unraveling something 3 components away. But then they found something that almost stopped the entire project cold: the cooling system, specifically the radiator. On a car producing over 1,000 horsepower, managing heat is not optional, it is existential. And what the team found in the cooling system was not the pristine, factory-engineered precision cooling architecture Bugatti describes in their press materials. What they found was a radiator that had been patched with Radweld. For anyone who doesn't know, Radweld is a radiator repair product, a liquid sealant you pour into a cooling system to stop small leaks from the inside. It is a product that exists for emergency repairs and budget fixes on everyday cars. It is not a product that belongs inside a Bugatti Veyron. But there it was, sitting inside the cooling system of a car with 10 radiators and a thermal management architecture so complex it requires its own dedicated electronic control systems. Someone, at some point in this car's history, had decided that rather than properly fix a cooling leak on a $1 million hypercar, they were going to pour in a bottle of Radweld and hope for the best. And this completely changed everything about how they understood this car's service history. Because if someone had taken that shortcut on the cooling system, what other shortcuts were hiding inside this car? And now we need to talk about Mark McCann. Because Matt Armstrong's Veyron doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a bigger story that's playing out in real time across the independent Veyron community. Mark McCann, who has been documenting his own Veyron acquisition and the absolute circus that followed, found himself dealing with a gearbox situation of his own. And the nature of that situation and the specific components involved were close enough to what Matt's team was seeing that it stopped being a coincidence and started being a pattern. These cars, these mythologized, ultra-exclusive, limited production hypercars, appear to have a set of recurring failure points that Bugatti has been aware of for years. And the response to those failure points hasn't been redesigned components or engineering updates.